Alright, so I wanted to make a quick video just talking about, now that I've had some time to digest it, I just wanted to put my thoughts, my final thoughts on TNT evolution and the Plutonia experiment in one video. So I could, because I was noticing the thoughts I was giving in the videos would change after a few days when I've had time to think about it. I'm going to put on some music as well. I did some work getting some of the midis that I've liked over the last while playing this, playing these WADs. So there we go, a little heavier. So I guess obviously if you've been following the channel, you'll know I played the TNT evolution and the Plutonia experiment lately, basically for the first time. And I've really enjoyed it. So I want to talk about TNT first. I went into TNT not really expecting a whole lot. I didn't really know what to expect, to be honest, because I'd always heard mixed things about it. I've heard that, you know, it's not fun, it's boring, it's really good, it's bad, it's all this and that. So I went in kind of just looking to just see what it was, and I came out the other side, and I got really emotional with myself when I finished recording episode, map 30. When I got done with all of that, I kind of just laid in my bed and was just like, wow, that was a really special one. I really had fun with that. And I wasn't really expecting to. I was complaining a lot. Yeah, sure, TNT's third episode's weak. But it ended up, the WAD as a whole ended up being really, really solid. I guess I'm just gonna conclusively give my strongest, weakest, and hardest maps throughout all 3 episodes. Because they're gonna differ, I think, from how I had presented it at the end of TNT and also Plutonia. So I think TNT Episode 1, very, very good 11 maps. I believe it's some of the best Classic Dream has to offer. Strongest map, map 4. That hasn't changed. I love Wormhole. I love that map so much. Weakest map, I think, is still gonna be map 8, just because they had so much they could have done with that, with a lot of the real estate that they had, and they kind of just didn't. I was kind of disappointed by how dramatic the level was supposed to feel with the MIDI, the pretty much all of it. How big the ending room is, and there's not a whole lot there. Can't say I'm really fond of map 8, so hardest map. I'm actually not gonna do hardest map because it's too much time's passed. So strongest map in episode 1, map 4, weakest, map 8. Episode 2 of TNT, that's kind of where TNT's gameplay starts to show itself as kind of like more, not as fast-paced, more on logic and puzzle solving and all that. Still enjoyable, still really fun. Strongest map, I think, I'm gonna say map 13. I really enjoyed map 13. It's the first map with the Cyber Demon, going around the different places. I believe that was called nukage processing. Going outside, inside. It was a really, really solid map. Weakest map, map 16. I remember like 2 things from map 16, and I played it pretty recently. Like, I am not fond of map 16 at all, just because it's unremarkable. Episode 3, kind of where it falls apart. It salvages itself by the end. But episode 3 as a whole, really, really weak, I think. Not bad, but just like, I'd rather play episode 1 or 2. Strongest map, I think, is gonna be map 26. I know a lot of people don't care for map 26, but I really, really enjoyed it. Almost like a survival horror map. That's partially because I fucked up in my playthrough and got chomped by a Spectre for max damage in the very beginning. So I spent most of it at low health, but I really had fun with map 26. Map 29 aged pretty well in my mind as well, despite how difficult that was at the end because of the lack of energy weapons. Weakest map? I gotta think about this. So the weakest map, I think I'm gonna say, was Habitat. Because Habitat was... No, I'm not gonna say Habitat. I'm not gonna say Habitat. What I'm gonna say instead is map 25, which I believe was Baron's Den. Is Baron's Den or Baron's Lair? I can't remember which. I think it was Baron's Den. I was gonna get it to map 22 because that map is, not good. But, I do like map 22 aesthetically. And at the very least, for it not being good, does give you reason to appreciate the other good maps. Which, that's not really a valid reason per se, but I can at least tell you some stuff that happened in map 22. Map 25, I think, was a another, like, pretty unremarkable one, but also kind of like an irritating one to go through, because you gotta do so much backtracking. It was so annoying. I at least, like, enjoyed the sewer bit in Habitat. I cannot say the same thing for Baron's Den. So overall, I think strongest map, map 4. I think weakest map, map 16. TNT, I still give an 8 out of 10. Still very, very, very nice WAD. Now, talk about the Plutonia experiment. I went into this with high expectations. I was really excited to play Plutonia because I know people love it to death for the difficulty challenge, for the maps. I know people absolutely adore this WAD. And I went into it, and I came out the other side, honestly, kind of disappointed. It wasn't really all that I heard it was. I mean, I'll be completely honest. Now, the MIDI pack did make it better. The MIDI pack did make it much more enjoyable. I'm playing the MIDI pack right now. There were a lot of songs I really, really liked. But overall, as much as music can do to a WAD, it can't salvage some of the map design. I'm going to get to some of the maps I don't like later, but right now I want to talk about just episode 1 of Plutonia. And I think it feels like, this goes for this WAD as a whole. I feel like Plutonia kind of does map design first. Or sorry, no. It does not do that. It does combat first, and it does map design second. Because I know the whole point of the WAD is to challenge you. It's meant for people in 1996 that were meant to just be really wanted that extra challenge. And at the time, this was the toughest thing out there. The toughest reasonably beatable thing out there. I know there's probably joke WADs out there with like a million cyber demons in it, but like those don't count, obviously. This is the hardest beatable WAD out there at the time. So, as far as map 1 goes, it does a good job of setting the pace. It does a really good job of telling you, hey, this WAD's gonna be hard. Around map 5, it's like, this is what you're gonna be up against. If you think you can't do it, you might want to just get ready to stop. So, I was ready for the challenge. Obviously, I think it just suffers from the fact I played this too late. You know, it's 2022, right? I've played other stuff. I've played tougher stuff. So Plutonia itself wasn't too difficult for me. I'm also playing with saves, but that doesn't invalidate the difficulty of some other fights, because I'm pistol starting, right? So, I think episode 1, strongest map, I would say is a toss-up between map 5 and map 11, but I do give a slight edge to map 5, by virtue of it not being a gimmick Archvile Maze level. Weakest map, I think I was again going to give it a toss-up between map 8 and map 10, but map 10 at least has the enjoyable fight at the end, once they get all the weapons. Map 8 is kind of just annoying to play, so I'm not really fond of map 8 at all. Episode 2, where do I start? Episode 2 is not good, in my opinion. The combat's there, sure. Again, there's only so much combat can do. The combat would be fine in episode 2 if it was more than, like, one fight. Right? It feels like... It's like Chain Gunners and Revenants or whatever, you know? The way Plutonia places them, it's fine. But the thing is, right... Episode 2 to me legitimately just felt like... I've told this to a lot of different people now. I posted it in the comments a lot. To replies that I get. Episode 2 just feels like they took the same level, altered it slightly, and just copy-pasted it 9 times. That's legitimately what it felt like. They all just felt like one big run-on sentence. So there was very little for me to really get attached to because it all felt like the same thing, just redone again. If I had to pick a strong map, it would obviously be map 32, which gets lumped in with episode 2 because that's when you encounter it. Go to it is it's the signature map from Plutonia. If you're playing Plutonia, you're playing it to play Go to it, pretty much, as I see it. The weakest map, I gotta think about this, because here's the thing. Here, it's easier for me to name the maps that aren't weak than the maps that are, in my opinion. So let me do that. Let me say I do enjoy map 15 for just the sheer panic factor. It does go really, really, really hard. It throws you into the deep end and does not let up until the end. So map 15 was really solid. The less agreeable example is map 20. I actually kind of really enjoyed map 20. I liked the concept of the central courtyard, and you're just kind of tracing around it, and eventually ending up back inside of it to end the level. Or to make substantial progress in the level. I like the Baron fight. Conceptually, I like the Baron fight. In execution, it's a little tricky because it's Barons, but I do still enjoy the Baron fight very much. Other than that, I mean, throw a dart and pick a map. They're all pretty weak, honestly. I mean, map 16 did not feel very creative at all. I guess map 16. Map 17 was Compound. That was annoying, but still kind of enjoyable. Map 18 was fine, I guess. Map 19 was also fine, I guess. But I mean, I can't pick one from episode 2. They're all tied for, like, last place. Almost all of them, except for 32, 15, 20, and 31. So, sorry to Plutonia episode 2. I am not fond of you, friend. Plutonia episode 3, I think, is where it really comes into its own, though. I really enjoyed the kind of no-holds-barred ideal that, episode 3 took. And it still kind of pulled some punches, but I like the maps in episode 3 a lot. I like the combat in episode 3 a lot. And I kind of just like the overall narrative that it was trying to tell. In the map design, in the story, all of that pretty much. I made quotes when I said story. So I'll pick the weakest map from episode 3 first, because that's going to be easier. So let me run through my head real quick. I think the weakest map, I would say, is no, not the sewers. I'm actually not going to say the sewers. I'm going to say the weakest map is... I just had it and I lost it. Map 25, Temple of Darkness. I would say that's the weakest one. Not even because it's bad. Just everything else is really good. Everything else is really good in episode 3. Strongest map? I would say the strongest map in episode 3 would be... Final Frontier. That's what I think. I think Final Frontier. I was trying to think of the name of the map. I was about to say Slayer, so that should say something. Slayer was really good. I was about to say Antichrist. Antichrist was not as good, but still really good. But I think Final Frontier really, really, really did all the right things for me. It had a very interesting use of that Cyber Demon, having him kind of... You kind of gotta maneuver around a large room while he's able to take pot shots at you. I think that was really good use of him. Overall, I just like the map. It's all in that one room. Bunker was pretty fun as well, but Bunker also pissed me off a lot. But yeah, Plutonia's third episode was so good. And I think, I tend to not include Icon of Sin maps in the rating, or in the strong weak map thing, because they're different maps. They're meant to be different. But I think Gateway of Hell was really, really nice. But yeah, I think if I had to give overall closing thoughts on Episode 3, I think Plutonia's Episode 3 is very, very fucking good. I want to do a comparison between TNT and Plutonia now, because ultimately these are two halves of the same package, Final Doom. TNT, I think, has really strong highs, but also pretty weak lows. Whereas Plutonia is kind of just a straight line. It has one spike with Go To It, and a couple other minor ones with some other maps. It has a big dip with Episode 2, but it all kind of just balances out at the end. And I think I said in the video that my opinion on TNT and Plutonia would change as time went on. My answer would never be consistent. And to that I say true. But ultimately, I think both of these WADs are incredibly fantastic. I still stand by my preference of TNT Evolution. I still do think TNT overall is the better WAD. Plutonia is more influential, by far. The effect it had on the Doom scene is immeasurable. But I think TNT is just the better one. TNT has, like I said, strong highs, weak lows. Plutonia is just a more straight line average. So, I think they're both extremely, extremely viable options. It kind of just depends on what you're in the mood for. If you're in the mood for kind of a longer, more obtuse, sort of obfuscated map, where you gotta think a little bit, and you kind of want easier combat, then TNT is the way to go. If you just want to push buttons and kill things, just play Plutonia. I think trying to judge them together is kind of difficult. Ironically, they're sold together. But they're two different WADs trying to do two different things in the end. Ultimately, this comparison sucks. But they are two different WADs trying to do two different things. So, personally, I give TNT 8 out of 10. I stand by that. 8 out of 10. That's personal bias aside. I love this WAD, but I can recognize it's an 8 out of 10. I think that's the most fair grade. Plutonia. This is no personal bias. I think Plutonia is a 7 out of 10. There's only so much challenge you can get out of placing... there's only so much interesting challenge that you can get also out of just spam placing chain gunners and revenants. Of which there were not really a whole lot of noteworthy fights that I remember involving either of those characters. At the moment, anyway. It's absolutely there, but it's like... this is making a point in itself. If it's chain gunners and revenants, and I can't name a specific fight, it's because they're all in every fight, right? It's nothing specific. It's just all the same thing. It's bringing me back to the point of it's the same thing, just altered slightly. Plutonia is influential, yes. Is it impressive? Yes. But is it interesting to me? The answer, not so much, right? That's why I think it's a 7 out of 10. Still highly playable, great playthrough. Just not outside of like Go To It or like one or two other maps. There's not a lot I would come back to Plutonia for, but there's plenty of stuff I'd come back to TNT for. So, I think those are my closing thoughts on TNT and Plutonia. As far as which WAD should you play, if you've never played it for some reason and you're watching these, I think I've answered that. I think if you want a more epic scale WAD that takes more time, that is slower paced, but is intriguing, that will grab you, map design-wise, TNT Evolution. If you just want to push buttons and kill things with a challenge, play Plutonia. They are both fantastic WADs. Those are my thoughts. I will see you all later. Peace.